Well, hello, and welcome to my presentation at the 2023 Teaching and Learning Conference, which I have recorded here. The name of my presentation is The Strategy of Free to Promote a Higher Education Culture of Open Access and Digital Literacy via Learning Resources and Technology, including Generative AI. My name is Dr. LauraAnn Migliori, and I also want to acknowledge my new research assistant, ChatGPT, which I use for collaboration in organizing my teaching and learning topics. So I would like to begin with a question for you to consider, and that is, how can offering something for free become profitable, a profitable venture, and how might it be used to change the landscape of higher education and workforce development? So imagine, if you would, a lush, vibrant garden filled with just an array of beautiful flowers and plants. The garden is open to everyone. There's no entry fee required, and people from all walks of life can come in and admire the beauty. They can inhale the fragrances and just leave with a sense of joy and fulfillment. Well, this metaphor is known as the freemium model. And now I would like for you to go to the next place where we can imagine that in this garden metaphor, that there is a walled enclosure just filled with the rarest flowers, unique gardening tools, and even expert gardeners ready to share their knowledge. However, to enter this special section, the visitors pay a fee, and in return, they receive personalized guidance, access to unique resources, and the opportunity to take a piece of the magic of that garden home with them. Maybe it's like rare seeds or special tools. So we're talking about the freemium model and how that can turn into the premium model and be both at the same time. This is a metaphor using a garden, showing that there's a portion that is free and there's a part that has a walled enclosure. So just like our garden metaphor, higher education institutions can create a buzz and just attract a diverse student body by offering free access to foundational courses and resources. The premium section would represent advanced courses and resources. And so this could turn into also certifications. And it could not only generate revenues, but also ensure that there's a pathway for deeper engagement and learning for those who are seeking it. And so just as a garden plays a role in cultivating a community of plant enthusiasts, the educational institutions can contribute to workforce development, particularly in the building of digital skills and applied generative AI, so that professionals can be ready to innovate and to lead in this ever-changing world. And so that's the premise behind this presentation, is how we can innovate and do some strategic things in order to address the issue of workplace development, and specifically for the digital skills and use of generative AI. So in this presentation, I'm just giving a high-level view and just going to address some of the high topics, but then get into some details that could be of use for research. I'm going to share the benefits and challenges of the freemium model, why it works, some examples, success stories, and then also offer some future research opportunities to take this to the next level. With that, I'll provide a summary and also my contact information if this is of interest to you and you would like to explore this further in terms of research or application in your educational institution. So let's talk about some of these benefits and challenges of the freemium model. The first thing is that it does attract attention. It can educate potential new consumers, whether they be students, professionals, or business partners, and it keeps them coming back for more. It can also increase the probability that eventually they're going to purchase, and it can retain goodwill, giving a positive impact to the university's brand. And if done correctly, balanced is the key word. You'll hear me say that again. It can sustain long-term revenues, product offerings, and even enrollments. And so the philosophy behind this goes to ancient biblical wisdom from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 11, verse 1. It says, casting your bread upon many waters, and after many days it will return back. And so it's this concept of a ripple effect that can be greater than any one individual sale. And so faith is not finite. And so let's go further and take a look at this. The other side of the coin is, of course, the challenges with the freemium model. And so the first one is the perception of value, that is the quality of what is being offered for free and how that compares to premium offerings, and if somebody is willing to pay for those premium offerings. And what goes with that is also that conversion rate as to when somebody who is a free user makes that decision to convert to a paying user. And so this, of course, affects, from a strategic perspective, all the resources that an educational institution would need to really manage well to be able to allocate appropriately, and also for what's needed to optimize the use of those resources so that it's scalable and has that flexibility, agility to move as needed to address the needs of the free users and also the premium users. So some other challenges with this model is it is a very popular model. There's a lot of competition. It's used frequently as a sales and marketing strategy. And so there is market saturation. So this again gets down to what is that unique value proposition that the educational institution would offer to differentiate themselves from others in the marketplace. There's also the consideration of intellectual property and the unauthorized distribution. So that's something to be very much aware of and to take a look at how to address that, as well as the quality and the consistency of going forward, because the updates of technological advances happen quickly, and so there's that need to be able to keep up with what is most recent, and consistency being the key word there. So why apply the strategy of free? Well, I'm going to share a couple of success stories. You're probably familiar with this, have encountered with it in your own personal purchases and perhaps, even in professional work itself. And I'm going to then talk about how this model can be applied to the higher education institution, as well as discuss some strategies for higher education institutions if they are going to pursue this type of a model, and then also share some key takeaways. So the reason this freemium model is so popular is because it works. And some examples of that include Google. Google is very good at providing several free products, services that can be used, and then selling premium offerings such as the Google Workspace or Google Colab. They also have Quick Labs, which is for specialized training. And the free part would be the Gmail and documents and things like that. You can also look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn has many free professional development courses, but then they offer the premium services, which deal with specialized career services and resources. And another example is Adobe Creative Cloud in terms of software. Free is just the basic version of the software, and then the premium version is the full-blown software. So those are just some examples. Now, how could this be applied, the freemium model, in higher education? And what might it look like specifically for workforce development needs? And we're talking digital skills and the inclusion of generative AI. Well, some of those applications could include free introductory courses such as digital literacy and the basics of generative AI. Then there's also giving free basic versions of this generative AI software. All right, and so this is where the opportunity comes in to partner with those types of companies. And then tiered learning pathways, which could be very specific to how these free resources lead to premium, more advanced courses or certifications that could benefit the user, and really clearly defining what that value proposition looks like. And then, of course, we have the opportunity to offer capstone projects or portfolios, which users could have free access to and be able to get some experience working on these projects. Same thing if it was maybe a research project or something, that they could develop some skills, get badging, maybe one of the credential badges. But it could also be used, the idea is that it would spur interest into advanced premium courses to go further in that learning for specialized skills and credentials. And then that, of course, would lead to the selling of those certifications and credentialing. But the key part to all of this for the higher education institution, and to really differentiate themselves in this day and age, is to really partner with businesses and corporate training type clients, where you can really focus in on what the workforce development needs are, and maybe offer some free basic training for those clients, but then charge when you have a nice balance with what are the customized training modules that are needed, and be able to sell that in a way that meets the needs of that business partnership. So those are some ideas for application to higher education industry. And this would involve strategy. It's something that has many facets of the strategy to keep it robust and agile to the point that you can achieve that balance, because balance is key in order to make this work so that it's effective and of course efficient when we consider the resources that are involved. So first would be partnerships with AI firms. Higher education institutions should collaborate with companies like ChatGPT, or I should say OpenAI, which provides the ChatGPT, or Google. So many of these other companies that are out there that could be valuable partner in terms of keeping up to date with industry standards and being able to access the latest tools and training materials. So there's the value that would be with that part of the strategy. Also with a vision to develop a talent pipeline. And this comes as you start to cultivate those relationships with business customers, to really have that vision of that this is all for the purpose of developing a skilled workforce that is competent in using digital skills and the appropriate application of generative AI. And this is where the curriculums would need to be updated, refreshed on a consistent basis so that it keeps up with the latest trends, tools, and of course, very importantly, is ethical considerations associated with generative AI. And another part of the strategy, which I think makes a lot of sense, is to implement free online assessment tools so that users can see for themselves where their skill gaps are. And then based on the results of that assessment, be given some recommendations for here are the free resources, and here are some premium resources that are not so free. You pay for those. So these are some strategies in the big picture of things. Also, I think it's important to keep that sense of a learning community where you foster online collaboration, encouraging that. That could be a free portion, and then the paid portion would be where users can get access to expert-led communities and specialized resources and services. Also, things like job placement services, unique to what the user needs, could be something that would be a paid-for type service. And then, of course, research opportunities, very similar to if you did a capstone project, but this would be more like a research, but it would be the opportunity to give the user experiential learning where they got hands-on learning, they're applying it, and in that they're learning and developing some skill. That could be a standalone free opportunity to develop some skills, get a credential badge that they can put, say, on LinkedIn or something. And then that could potentially lead them to be inspired to pay for premium coursework and what comes next, after that. That's the one thing about this, is that it's a continuous learning with the feedback loop in there. And so the key takeaways I want to leave with you regarding this discussion, specific to the higher education industry, is that the opportunity is to collaborate with industry partners. With that comes utilization of grants and sponsored research to align with educational offerings in specific to workforce development needs. And of course, these emerging technologies like generative AI. It's important to consider both the freemium and the premium model as a holistic model and what it takes, and then the center of that being those resources and how they need to be allocated appropriately. The philosophy that I encourage is cast your bread upon the waters, for after many days you will find it again. Again, this is about taking calculated risks, in that you are moving forward, making efforts to learn and improve along the way, but you're doing it prudently, and you're doing it in a way that is still innovative, but it's calculated risk. So that's encouraged. And then, of course, a continuous feedback loop, because that's necessary, that there's a mechanism to capture the feedback from both free users and premium users so that you know how to improve upon this. This is something that's dynamic and that's going to need attention and management, so you got to count the cost if you decide to implement such a model as this. So all that said, here are some topics for research, future research recommendations that I want to encourage. And this first slide really addresses success metrics, being able to identify on those factors that contribute to the conversion rate of free users to premium users. That's very important, because you have to be able to align that to the optimization of resource allocations and the ability to scale that in a way that makes sense between the free offerings and the premium offerings, and then how that relates to all the big picture of all your business partners and so forth. And then, of course, the big picture being the curriculum development and how that is managed and updated, specifically in this tiered learning pathway approach, which makes a lot of sense in terms of where you start and where you could potentially go advancing in this. And so this is an opportunity then to align that to freemium offerings and premium offerings. All right, and so some other ideas for research involve exploring these employer partnerships, and specifically how it could improve the institution's value proposition. It's very important that the higher education institution really stays focused on what this means for their brand, and also the value proposition that they would be selling, offering for free and also selling. So that there's an opportunity for research there. And then these last two areas, I think there's just wide open space for more research in this, and that is accreditation. How can educational institutions integrate this type of modeling for freemium, premium models without compromising their accreditation on standards and processes, and being able to assess these challenges and opportunities? And then, of course, something that is of great concern that there's always a need to learn more about in research opportunities would be the data privacy and ethical considerations, specifically for how the student data is handled, potential commercial exploitation, and the assessment of this role of generative AI and the risk factors and what should be looked at in terms of how it can best be mitigated in terms of data security. So with that, I want to just give you a brief summary, and I want to share some scholarly sources that share a lot more detail than what I went into, and how those sources can be used for future research on those topics that I shared. So basically, the freemium model is sales and marketing strategy. It works. A lot of industries, companies have used it. There's an opportunity for higher education institutions to adopt this. But however, the key is to finding the right balance to make it work effectively. And keeping in mind, this could be a very innovative approach to help improve inclusion and success for contemporary post-secondary students. So from that regard, I encourage that for further consideration. These are some of the references. These were very good reads, a lot of detail in these sources that can be used for building and putting together a research proposal. And so I want to offer that right here so you can see that. And then as well as my contact information, which is my faculty email at University of Arizona. So it's lauraann.migliori@faculty.uagc.edu, or you can reach me through my personal email is drlauraann@gmail.com. So anyways, that's it. Feel free to reach out. Thank you.